Thanks for joining us on a Tuesday edition of the Bruce Hooley Show. I'm glad to be with you because we get to talk at the top of the show today about one of my favorite topics, which is Columbus City Schools. Oh, Columbus City Schools, the district that just this week got a 2-star rating, needs help from the state in achieving its goals. Despite getting a $100 million levy passed by its residents last November, despite spending quite a bit more per student than the state average spending per student, Columbus City Schools surrounded by districts that get 5-star ratings. Columbus City Schools, whose dysfunction and duplicity on full display last night at a board meeting where embattled board member Brandon Simmons, the guy who has been in the crosshairs of the board since May because he supposedly wrote a document with a strategic plan for managing the PR fallout of the district thinking about closing some buildings in certain parts of the city. Now, we know that the enrollment in Columbus City Schools has fallen precipitously over the past few decades. We also know that when you close schools in people's neighborhoods and you have to get your kid to school farther away from home than you did before, that's going to be controversial. And so I've always felt like, while it may have been clumsily handled by Brandon Simmons, who's the youngest member of the Columbus Board of Education, it was nevertheless not a betrayal of any kind of duty that he had on the board to come up with ideas about, hey, we need to, in order to enact our fiduciary responsibility to do what's best for the district, we need to close some buildings. We need to consolidate our assets. That'll offend some people, sure. But here's how we can manage the fallout from that. I've never felt like that was a bad idea on his part. Again, how he went about it, the plan that he crafted, I can't endorse that because what he basically said was, let's sow seeds of discord in the district. Let's turn the two unions against each other. Let's move press conferences at the last minute. Let's bring in heavy equipment to do the Joe Biden thing, where we have the whoring helicopter blades. We want the equivalent of that in Columbus City Schools when people come out to ask us questions about why we're closing certain buildings. So I'm not endorsing any of that. But immediately when Simmons' plan was leaked to the public by another member of the board, all of a sudden, the board coalesced around, okay, Brandon Simmons is young, he's not that smart, he's not that savvy, and we got to get rid of Brandon Simmons. And so indeed, last night, the Columbus Schools Board of Education called for the immediate resignation of Brandon Simmons, which I find curious because what we found out in the last day is that when Brandon Simmons first ran afoul of the people on the board for this PR plan that he had to, win the war over closing schools, he said from the very beginning that he did not act alone, that there were other people who were in on it and who helped him either craft the document or at least helped him strategize. Okay? There's a delineation there. You can help a person strategize about how something will be received by the public. Doesn't mean you help create it. But the definite impression left by the board throughout May to mid-September was that Brandon Simmons was a lone crackpot, that he crafted this plan on his own. None of the rest of us knew anything about it. When we found out about it, one of us leaked it to the media, and Brandon Simmons has been under fire ever since. Except none of that is true. Well, the part about him being under fire is true. The part about him doing all this on his own and nobody knowing that this existed is definitely not true, because we found out through a Freedom of Information Act request by WOSU that not just one, but 2 board members spoke with Brandon Simmons about this document that he crafted in advance of it being leaked to the public. And one of those 2 board members is the former president of the board, Jennifer Adair. So she's still on the board. The other one who was in on this was Tina Pierce. She is the current vice president of the board. And very unfortunately for them, Ohio is a one-party consent state, which means you can tape a conversation with someone even if they don't know you're doing it. That's what one-party consent means. You're the person who wants to tape the conversation. The person who you want to tape, they don't need to know it. You're not breaking the law if you tape them. So you can go, depending on your age demographic, you can go full 60 Minutes undercover, or you can go full James O'Keefe undercover, and you're not breaking the law. Brandon Simmons, given the generation that he's in, I would say he went James O'Keefe on these two board members. In fact, one of them said to him up front, and I believe it was Pierce, said in advance of their, what was it, like a 40-minute conversation, I hope you're not taping this. Well, not everybody has every one of their hopes realized. And unfortunately for Tina Pierce, she did not have her hopes realized because Simmons was recording it. And we now know that he was not acting alone, which is kind of important because both Pierce and Adair, well, I'll just read you what the Columbus Dispatch wrote today. Pierce and Adair previously told the public during a meeting that they had no involvement in the creation of the document. No involvement. I continue. Simmons, who was censured by the board in June and again on Monday, claimed at the same time that others were involved, but has never publicly released information to substantiate that claim. Again, there's a difference between creating it and strategizing about how to deal with the fallout of it. But at the very, very least here, I think we can clearly see that the other board members have not been honest. They got caught talking with Brandon Simmons. And by the way, in these conversations with Simmons, it would be one thing if at one point, at any point in the approximately hour of taped audio that Simmons has of these two board members, Pierce and Adair, it would be one thing if during those conversations they said, Brandon, this document is horrific. This plan is terrible. I can't believe you did this. This could and should result in your resignation from the board. No. There was nothing like that. What? And I don't want to bore you with all the gory details because really, how many of us send our kids to Columbus City schools? Thankfully, not very many, because let me just remind you again, Columbus City Schools got a 2-star rating this week in the state report card. In the state of Ohio, they are rated 750th out of 929 school districts. Their math proficiency scores, 19%. 19%. They have steadily fallen, as have their reading and language scores since 2010-ish. Their science test scores, 30% proficiency rate. Their graduation rate, 78%. So, they're not doing great. They're not doing great. I know if you'd only give them more money, they're only spending over $20,000 per pupil to educate them. 5-star schools in the area spend far less than that per pupil. But again, we saw last night at the very end of the meeting how accountable the members of the board are to the public that they are supposed to be serving. And I want to just share with you a couple instances from this meeting that I think fully point out just what a clown show this board is and just what a clown show Columbus City Schools are. They passed a resolution to tell Brandon Simmons he had to resign from the board. So he leaves the room after this happens. And the current board president, Christina Vera, says this. This is in no shape or form a retaliation. This is about the safety of our students. Ooh, that document Brandon Simmons wrote. Just think how many students it could have harmed. Our staff and I are really disappointed that we are still here having to deal with this. And then here's the funny part. In a release, the board said they are, quote, committed to transparency and accountability. And then this is the priceless next sentence. After the meeting, the board declined to comment. They're so committed to transparency and accountability. So committed, so fully committed. They had to issue a statement about it. They couldn't come out and stand there and say, we are committed to transparency and accountability, and here we are to answer questions and be transparent and accountable. No, they issued a statement. They are committed to transparency and accountability. And then when pressed by reporters as the meeting ended, they said they would have no comment. I don't know what more clearly demonstrates their actual commitment to transparency and accountability than the post-meeting no comment.
Very nice afternoon, 1981, passing showers, otherwise overcast, low tonight 65, clouds tomorrow 94, partly cloudy for the morning 62, and then clouds for the moon Thursday 95, sunny to partly cloudy one day Friday, Friday afternoon at 85, and then sunny and a bit warmer on Saturday, Saturday 88. I'm Steve Williams on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
They come here illegally, crossing our southern border. Then Sherrod Brown rolls out the welcome mat for them here in Ohio. Brown voted to give amnesty to 11 million illegal immigrants, including those convicted of crimes like drunk driving, aggravated assault, and child abuse. And Sherrod Brown voted 10 times to protect sanctuary cities in Ohio, which released dangerous illegals back onto the street, making Ohio's neighborhoods less safe. And while we struggle to make ends meet, Sherrod Brown is voting to give illegals taxpayer-funded benefits, like health care for illegals granted amnesty, Social Security, COVID relief checks, even a program to fly Haitian migrants into Ohio airports, all paid for by you, the taxpayer. You think you know Sherrod Brown? Well, after 31 years in Washington, Sherrod Brown's way too liberal for Ohio. American Crossroads paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any tax-based commission. AmericanCrossroads.org.
There's a lot going on in today's America, and it can get hard to turn your mind off at night. That's why conservatives have been turning to Beam's Dream. Dream has improved 15 million nights of sleep, and it can improve yours too. Their Dream formula helps you put your day to bed. Just one scoop helps you unlock a full 8 hours of sleep. It might just be the easiest thing you do all day and night. Beam's Dream Formula is the key to falling asleep faster and staying asleep longer. Thanks to its proprietary ingredient stack, mornings feel refreshing, not like a groggy wake-up call. This is a simple, zero-effort addition to any nightly ritual. Simply mix Dream into hot water or milk, then froth and enjoy. Try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder for yourself and enjoy this limited-time offer of up to 35% off when you go to shopbeam.com/America. Use the code America.
This is my pillow.
Okay, thank you.
BEAM.com/America and use the code America for up to 35% off.
Before the most pivotal election of our lifetime, the Battleground Talkers Tour to Columbus. Be a part of the critical conversations that will influence the direction of America. See Bruce Hooley, Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, Larry Elder, and special guests live on stage Tuesday, October 22nd at Genoa Church in Westerville. The Battleground Talkers Tour. Tickets start at just $5 and are available now at 989theanswer.com.
I'm CPA Brad Henneberg with Premier Tax CPAs. And the true value of using a CPA is getting guidance throughout the year, not just at tax time. During the year, we can actively advise you on your financial and tax planning and other major business decisions, just like an outside CFO. Too often, when you see your accountant only at tax time, we're really only keeping score of what you did last year. We'll prepare a comprehensive tax plan to maximize your deductions and minimize the tax you pay, and present you with money-saving options you may not have ever considered. We'll update your financial position each quarter, so there are no nasty surprises at tax time. At Premier Tax CPAs, we like to have consultations with our clients throughout the year because important financial information is only useful if it's timely. At Premier Tax CPAs, we're a firm that can work with you and your business throughout the year to help you make decisions before it's too late. Give us a call at Premier Tax CPAs at 614-524-4888. That's 614-524-4888.
MyPillow.com products, you're used to me telling you, are on sale, right? $25 extravaganza, pretty special sale, towel sets, slippers, slides. Also, the MyPillow itself, Queen and King. Well, now it gets even better. The original MyPillow is now $14.98. I know, crazy. Pretty soon, Mike Lindell will be paying you to get a MyPillow. No, he won't be doing that. I don't know how he does it. Yeah, I do. Actually, because he's being canceled more by additional big box stores, which reduces his in-store inventory, which means he's got to sell more, which also reduces his costs, because maybe you don't know this, to put a product on a big box store shelf is really expensive. You pay for that store shelf space. And so if you're not allowed in the store anymore, then you no longer have to pay for that, but you still have the product and you want to sell it. So you can discount it. The price was built in to $25 before. Now it is $14.98. So check it out, mypillow.com. And to get this pricing, you must use my promo code, Bruce. So the problem with an issue like Springfield, Ohio, where migrants have indisputably overrun the city, okay? At least 15,000 migrants. Originally, the number was 20,000. Now I've seen it 15,000. I've also seen it reported that there are more coming. And the problem with this is when J.D. Vance and Donald Trump bring attention to it, and then the Democrats pounce on the one thing that could be, and I'm not saying it is, but could be inaccurate about those reports, which are that migrants are stealing pets and either sacrificing them to their voodoo gods or eating them. That's something that might not be true, even though it's true in Canton, Ohio, that a woman was arrested on police body cam video for killing a cat and eating it. But if you give Democrats the out, I said before, talk about the impact of the migrants in Springfield, talk about the strain it's put on city services, there you're firewalled from criticism from Democrats. But J.D. Vance and Donald Trump didn't do that. And so they're getting hammered everywhere about this. But the problem with that is the more they get hammered, the more people who are sympathetic to J.D. Vance and Donald Trump as political candidates, the more supporters of them decide, you know what? I'm going to dig into the Springfield, Ohio situation, and I'm going to try to find out what's really going on there, and I'm going to try to defend the candidates that I support. And this would be different if we were in a different era where the only media in Springfield, Ohio were like the Dayton television stations, the Columbus television stations, the local newspaper, the Springfield News Sun, or the Dayton Daily News, or maybe even the Columbus Dispatch. But we're not in that era. We now have an array of independent journalists, people like our own Jack Windsor, who hosts the Windsor Report here from 5 to 6 p.m. every single night, Monday through Friday on 989 The Answer. And there are others. They're out there all over the place. And the other thing that's different now than it was when I was growing up 30 miles north of Springfield is that everything now is online. So you don't even have to be in Springfield to research what's going on in Springfield. You can find on the county auditor's website pretty much anything you want to find. You can find out all kinds of information about non-governmental organizations and nonprofits in Springfield, Ohio, and how they've grown over the years. And you can find government grants and the amount of money that has been awarded to these non-governmental organizations in Springfield, Ohio. So when you put all that together, it makes a pretty good size and tidy little ball. And once that ball starts rolling downhill, well, that ball doesn't have any brakes on it. And that ball can, I'm not saying it will, but it can overrun politicians like Springfield Mayor Rob Rue. Now, there's an organization that I was not even aware of called the Buckeye Report. The Buckeye Report. And the Buckeye Report, I've vetted it. It's a legit organization. They have been investigating Mayor Rob Rue in Springfield, Ohio. And Mr. Rue, hey, hats off to you. He is by trade, a mortician, a funeral home director. He is 37 years old, and it appears that he is doing quite well financially. Quite well financially. And that's great because we're a capitalistic society. And if you run a funeral home, do well, invest your money, my hat is off to you. You made great life choices. However, it is interesting, I will say, that online research shows that Mr. Rue owns, or his company owns, more than 25 rental properties in Springfield, Ohio. More than 25. Now, look, I own one rental property. It's not an easy slog because you have to make the mortgage payment. Hopefully you have a renter who does it for you. But if you're in a city where there are between 15,000 and 20,000 migrants and they all need housing, well, you have a lot of people who would want to rent your properties. And if those people are getting government benefits and those people are inviting family members from Haiti, and the way the government program works is chain migration means that if you come and you're legal, you can invite 5 more people in your family to come. Hence the ballooning numbers in Springfield, Ohio. And if you're the mayor of Springfield, Ohio, or you're on the city commission of Springfield, Ohio, you have the platform where you can approach the federal government to say, hey, we need more aid here. We need more money here. We need more government grants here. There are other people in Springfield, Ohio, who own things like temporary agencies. What do temporary agencies do? Temporary agencies seek employment for people who aren't employed. And there's a company in Springfield called First Diversity Staffing. First Diversity Staffing is owned by someone who also owns a lot of rental properties in Springfield, Ohio. Nothing wrong with that. Not a crime. Again, my capitalistic hat is off to you. But if you're trying to solve the mystery of why Springfield officials would be so eager to disparage any and all reports from residents, longtime residents, 40-year, 50-year residents of Springfield, Ohio, when they say, hey, these Haitian migrants are overrunning our city. They are causing all kinds of problems. We can't afford it. We can't sustain it. Our landlord is raising our rent. Our landlord is renting the property we used to live in to Haitian migrants because they have money from the federal government that we don't get. A landlord's a capitalist. The landlord can raise the rent, whatever. I personally don't, because when I have a good renter, I'm going to keep that renter. But, you know, there are a lot of different approaches to real estate investments. So it's interesting. You can look online. There are many Twitter sites and people who are looking into this stuff in Springfield, Ohio. You probably had the same thought that I did when you heard that there were thousands and thousands and thousands of migrants in Springfield, Ohio, and you thought, well, city commissioners and the mayor and people like that, they wouldn't invite people into town to ruin their town unless they were getting something out of it, right? Unless maybe while it disadvantages the town, somebody might be gaining something from it. So the reporting on this is very interesting. I'm going to do more digging. I encourage you to do the same.
With the election fast approaching, the presidential campaigns are running hard this week. The former President Trump is stopped in Michigan, New York, and Washington, D.C. Kamala Harris visits Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin this week. While some on the left insist that former President Trump is to blame for the attempts to assassinate him, former president and many Republicans say it's Democratic rhetoric, repeatedly referring to Mr. Trump as a threat to democracy and worse, and is feeding the violent hatred. China's military says its warplanes trailed a U.S. military aircraft through the Strait of Taiwan earlier today. An explosive pipeline fire burned for hours near Houston began when a vehicle struck an above-ground valve after driving through a fence. On Wall Street, the Dow up 155 points, Nasdaq ahead 121. This is SRN News.
Folks, Donald Trump Jr. here. Let me ask you this. Does inflation feel worse than we're being told in the news?
That's because the official inflation rate doesn't tell the whole story. Since January of 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back. But what you can do is stop your losses today. How? By diversifying your savings into a gold IRA from my friends at the Birch Gold Group. When you're done, your money will be parked in a tangible asset with proven history. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PREPARE to 989898. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax advantage status. So text PREPARE to 989898. That's PREPARE to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRA.
Dennis Prager here, inviting you to join me on a cruise to the Caribbean this November. Share fresh insights about our world today, all while soaking up a tropical Caribbean paradise. Call 855-565-5519 or PragerCruise.com.
She's unafraid and unapologetic. She's Laura Trump, and she's shaking things up on the Right View podcast on the Salem Podcast Network.
Some people call it gaslighting. I'm tired of that term. It's not gaslighting, it's lying. And they know they're lying. They know they're lying about a federal abortion ban with Donald Trump. They're trying to scare women. Yeah, they're going to lie. They lie about everything.
Subscribe to the Right View podcast with Laura Trump today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Hey, BRICS nations are the #1 buyers of gold on the planet right now. That includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and many other nations who joined their ranks to purchase gold. Nations who are not aligned with us, well, it looks like they're betting on the American recession. With the United States carrying over $35 trillion in national debt, who would be surprised if these countries are betting against us? So the big question is, how do you protect yourself from their plans to de-dollarize the globe? Let my friends at Swiss America educate you on how to protect your hard-earned money. You gotta see their free report, The Secret War on Cash. Just call or text my name, Mike Gallagher, to 800-289-2646, and we'll send you that report. Call or text Swiss America and get their free report, The Secret War on Cash. Keep your money safe. You know what to do.
This is the QC Connect.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
889-2646 today, or visit SwissAmerica.com/Gallagher and get your free report, The Secret War on Cash. From
Today's America is full of bloviating pundits who speak with emotion. That's why you need to listen to The Larry Elder Show. Larry is a lawyer, writer, and media personality who speaks truth with facts. The Larry Elder Show, weekday evenings from 8 to 11 on 98.9 FM. The Answer.
Pain is no fun, particularly when you might have relief just a phone call or a consultation away. I'm talking about QC Kinetics. I'm talking about their clinics in Gahanna and in Dublin and the free consultation that they offer you. Aren't you intrigued? I mean, if you could avoid surgery, or if you could just avoid the pain, maybe a doctor has told you you're bone on bone, there's nothing you can do unless you're tethered to pain relieving medicine and you're nervous about that and what it's doing to your system, or an expensive surgery or a painful surgery and you can't afford the downtime. I mean, I would at least invest the phone call. What's the number? 380-208-4544. 380-208-4544. 380-208-4544. The clinics are in Gahanna and in Dublin. You'll go in, you'll meet with the doctors. I've done it. I'm on chemo, so I can't do it right now. They don't take everybody. You can't be way overweight. There are other restrictions on it too, but it could work for you as it has worked for thousands in Central Ohio and tens of thousands around the U.S. QC Kinetics, 380-208-4544. All right, I held off on reporting some of the details on this story yesterday because I wanted to give it a little bit of time to breathe, and I wanted to see what other commentators who I respect did with it. I also wanted to see if ABC News would respond to reports that it stacked the deck in favor of Kamala Harris in the presidential debate. And of course, ABC's not going to come out and go, yeah, you got me. But as I read through their response, I'm not going to call it a denial because it's really not a denial. I see ways that they could be doing what Democrats are very good at doing, which is saying something true that has nothing to do with the question that is answered. So where does all this begin? Okay, well, first of all, we wouldn't have this story if the debate on September the 10th wasn't administered in a way that anybody with a functioning brain could see was meant to advantage Kamala Harris. She was never fact-checked in the debate, including when she misrepresented her positions previously, including the lie she continues to say about, when I was vice president, I did not ban fracking. Okay. You don't have the power to ban fracking when you're the vice president. And you didn't change your position on fracking. You articulated Joe Biden's position on fracking. He wouldn't let you ban fracking, even if you wanted to, which you said in 2019 you would unequivocally do. But the worst lie she told was that there were no American servicemen anywhere in the world who are in harm's way right now. They're not in a combat zone, which came as a great shock to U.S. servicemen in the Middle East who are in a combat zone every day. And of course, I would assume, although I don't know because I don't watch it, ABC News would have at some point in the past few months would have mentioned one instance that killed 3 American servicemen, one incident that killed 2 Navy SEALs, an incident involving the Houthis, their attacks in the Red Sea, their attempts to disrupt shipping in the Middle East. I would assume ABC mentioned that at some point in time. I would assume somebody at ABC remembers that, and I would have assumed if David Muir and Lindsey Davis weren't hack partisans, they would have said to Vice President Harris, that's not accurate. That's not accurate. But they did not do that, which gave rise to this report, this affidavit, which, let me tell you what an affidavit is. An affidavit is where you go in and you attest to something happening, and you have it notarized so that it's shown to be authentically coming from you. You sign it. And here's the important part. If you falsify anything in the affidavit, you can be prosecuted for that crime. So this affidavit in question was given the day before the debate, not after the debate, not somebody sitting at home going, that looks kind of funny. I think I'll swear to the fact that ABC stacked the deck in Kamala Harris's favor. No, this is someone who works at ABC News. They say in the affidavit they've been with ABC for over 10 years and that they have observed, they're based out of Manhattan, which is where, of course, ABC would be located. They say in the affidavit that they have worked for ABC for over 10 years and they have observed, and I quote, significant transformations in the nature of news reporting at the organization since it was acquired by Disney in 1996. Now, if you recall the debate, you will recall that there were no questions asked in the debate about China. Now, I have to tip my hat to Hugh Hewitt on this, who said, why no questions about China? Oh, Disney has theme parks in China. We know that there have been movies, most notably Top Gun 2, which had to take references to China off of, I think it was the leather jacket, the bomber jacket worn by Tom Cruise in Top Gun 2, because they don't want to offend their Chinese audience. Disney's big on that, right? Disney and its affiliates. They're big on that. They don't want to offend China. The NBA doesn't want to offend China. There are a lot of American companies that don't want to offend China because they're making big bank off China, and ABC would be one of those through its parent company, Disney. So this person in the affidavit says pretty much what we all witnessed. Here are some of the things that are alleged in the affidavit. That ABC was in contact with the Harris team prior to the debate, and that it negotiated specific camera angles to portray Harris more favorably than Trump. I noticed on the split screen, didn't you? Boy, Kamala Harris, she looks every bit as big as Trump. She must be an Amazon woman. She must be like 6'3". It's a wonder she didn't play. Well, they didn't have the WNBA when she was born, but, you know, it's a wonder she's huge, right? No, she's not. They just negotiated the camera angles, and they gave her, according to this affidavit, a smaller podium. Why would they give her a smaller podium? Because if you stand behind a smaller podium, you look bigger. Is that all there is, Bruce? Come on, it's not really very much. The document also claims the campaign negotiated with the Harris campaign that it would avoid specific topics including President Joe Biden's health and cognitive abilities. Oh, yeah, that never came up either, did it? Came up in the Dana Bash interview. Didn't come up in the ABC debate. I mean, after all, who cares? The president's a mush brain. No questions would be asked about Harris's tenure as Attorney General in San Francisco. Why would that be important? Because she was behind the policies that lead to all the smash and grabs that you see on social media, where people go into jewelry stores and drug stores, and why CVS's and Rite Aids and other businesses are closing in San Francisco, because it's very hard to stay in business when everything is behind lock and key. And the reason why everything is behind lock and key is because if it's not, you can go into the store with a garbage bag, fill it up. And as long as you have like $900 in change worth of stuff, they can't stop you and they can't prosecute you, and they won't. She was behind all that. And also that no questions would be asked about her brother-in-law and advisor, Tony West. Who is Tony West? Tony West is the Hunter Biden of the Kamala Harris family. Tony West is married to Kamala Harris's sister, and Tony West worked in the Justice Department's Civil Division under Barack Obama. And Tony West took advantage of a change in a law that at one time required Congress to approve any settlement in excess of $100,000 with somebody who was suing the federal government. But because there were so many lawsuits in the era of Obama, Congress removed the cap and handed the Justice Department a blank check to pay the settlements in any amount. The New York Post says the judgment fund secrecy is so complete that our often penetrated CIA might study it for lessons. The limited data released omits recipients. You don't even know who the money goes to. The facts underlying the case, and often the lawyers involved. Who was in charge of all that? Oh, look at this. Tony West, who took over the department's Civil Division in 2009, a year after Obama took office. Once West arrived, his deputy emailed colleagues asking, can you explain to Tony the best way to allocate some money toward an organization of our choosing? Of whose choosing? Our choosing! So they gave taxpayer money to organizations that Obama and his acolytes supported. The DOJ agreed to remember the cap used to be $100,000? A $1.3 billion settlement to thousands of farmers who had never claimed bias. Yeah, remember the deal that only went to black farmers and not white farmers? And one of the black farmers was Oprah because she owned all the land that they were farming. $1.3 billion, no congressional oversight, all within the Justice Department. No funny business was alleged by the farmers. They just gave them $1.3 billion. Gee, I wonder who they'll vote for after you give them $1.3 billion. Can't figure that out. I'm mystified, aren't you? Now, did ABC deny this? They said no questions were given to Kamala Harris in advance. Doesn't mean topics can't be given to them in advance. ABC also said none of its aides were in contact with moderators David Muir and Lindsay Davis. You think David Muir and Lindsay Davis have assistants? I bet they do. Curiously, Kamala Harris's campaign did not respond to a request for comment on Monday. That's a little surprising, isn't it? Oh, no, it's not really that surprising, Bruce. She's done one interview solo since she got the nomination. Not really that surprising.
Sunshine this afternoon, high at 81. Passing shower this evening, otherwise overcast. Low tonight 65. Clouds tomorrow, the high 84. Partly cloudy for tomorrow night, low 62. And then clouds and warm Thursday, the high 85. Sunny to partly cloudy home day Friday. High Friday afternoon at 85. And then sunny and a bit warmer on Saturday. High Saturday 88. I'm Steve Williams on 98.9 FM. The Answer.
Hi everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-504-8790. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So John, tell everyone listening you should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, Anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-504-8790. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-504-8790.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center, may not be available in all states.
As a local business owner, you get called every week by marketing companies. We get it. We have hundreds of satisfied customers. Here's what a satisfied client recently said.
Open enrollment is going great. We're hitting record numbers. Thank you so much for this report. It really is amazing to see how the marketing is really shaping our enrollment around the city.
If you're a local business and ready to take the next step, Google Salem Surround Columbus right now. Our experts are ready to help you take your marketing to the next level. Google Salem Surround Columbus today.
Caribbean is calling. Dennis Prager here. Join me on an unforgettable cruise to the Caribbean this November. Imagine 9 days of basking in the sun surrounded by the stunning beauty of the tropical paradise. Your cruise to the vibrant islands of Half Moon Cay, Curacao, Bonaire, Turks and Caicos, and much more. Stroll through Curaçao's iconic pastel-colored shops and snorkel in Bonaire's world-class coral reefs. You'll enjoy some of the most delicious cuisine aboard Holland America's Rotterdam, a fantastic destination itself with riveting shows and breathtaking views. We'll be joined by special guest Sean McDowell, and we'll both share fresh insights, current events, discuss happiness and our future in America in light of the election. November 29th to December 8th this year. Secure your spot today by calling 855-565-5519 or online at PragerCruise.com.
Quick question. Did you know that the conservative news and talk content that you're currently enjoying on this station and online is supported by advertisers? Here's another one for you. And this one is for our business audience. Are you aware that our loyal listeners eagerly engage with our advertisers because they know that these advertisers share their values and care about our programming as much as they do? Listeners, tell your favorite businesses about us. And business owners, contact us today to create and implement strategies that drive people to connect and engage with you, helping you grow and experience the value of becoming loyal customers. Join with us today to continue spreading the good word.
To learn how to reach our audience with your business's message and support this station, contact Carolyn Cassidy at 614-318-0401 or click on the Advertise With Us banner at 989theanswer.com. That's 989theanswer.com.
PatriotSwitch.com products are good for you and your family multiple ways. They are plant-based, number one, so you don't have to worry about any toxins in them. But the other way that they are good for you is that they take a bite out of woke capitalism. Companies that donate to causes you don't support, why buy your mouthwash, your toothpaste, your laundry detergent, your cleaning products, your supplements, your vitamins, your essential oils, all those things, 450 plus products. If you did that, your neighbors did that, you told your neighbors about it, they joined the club like you can, you think that would make a difference at Unilever, Procter & Gamble, at BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, the big companies that run those major corporations that stock our store shelves with 90% of the products that are killing us? I've dug deeper into nutrition and into our food supply and into things that put toxins in the air and into our bodies inadvertently. It's a mess. Trust me. Patriot Switch products are fantastic. Shampoo, mouthwash, toothpaste, and the like. Let me tell you more about it. Go to patriotswitch.com/Bruce, leave your information, and I will reach out and contact you soon. Well, I think we are all relieved, aren't we, that Intel has received an even bigger boost of billions. Poor Intel, right? They are struggling, laying off 15% of its global workforce. Not sure if they can actually finish that monstrosity of a facility out in Orange Township. But on Monday, that's yesterday, they reaffirmed their commitment to the $28 billion project in New Albany. I got to start doing the math on this because it's a $28 billion project. But the more I read about how much money they're getting, seems like they're getting a whole lot more than $28 billion to build this thing. I could be wrong. But let me just go through this story written by Mark Williams in the Columbus Dispatch today. They are positive now. They're going to finish that ruination of rural Licking County because they have come to partnership with Amazon, which, if not for Intel's ever enlarging footprint in Central Ohio, we could be bemoaning Amazon's reach into almost every single community in the area. Amazon announced a year ago that it would spend $8 billion to build out its data center operations in Central Ohio, which will be on top of the $10 billion it has invested in Ohio since 2015. How much are they giving Intel? Well, like the Columbus City Schools, they are being very accountable and very transparent and not disclosing the amount. But we do have the amount that Intel announced that it would, and this announcement was also yesterday, Intel announces it is qualified for up to $3 billion in additional federal aid. Yay! Did we all get together and make that decision? Oh, no. They just take our tax money and just give it away. The award, the $3 billion, is in addition to a preliminary award, back when this whole monstrosity started, of $8.5 billion in grants and $11 billion in low-cost loans. And all of that came with a 25% federal tax credit. So I'm mystified. Seems to me the Biden administration is very interested in taxing the wealthiest Americans. Very interested. Yet, when you have a company the size of Intel and you hand them a 25% federal tax credit, would that not be in conflict with what they want to do to individual investors who build businesses that hire people who get paid by the business, who then take that money and buy cars and windows and roofs and houses and things that actually stimulate the local economy? It's been a long time since I took my 4 courses in economics at Ohio State, and maybe everything has changed since then. It certainly seems so as I read the headlines about Intel. Now, what's the latest on the Columbus data breach? More than 20% of the systems in the city of Columbus are still down nearly 2 months after the cyber attack against the city. Mayor Ginther, who you will recall did not want to spend the $1.6 million. Maybe he just didn't, maybe he was uncomfortable with the whole cryptocurrency demand of Rashida, the firm that stole the data. He didn't want to spend the $1.6 million to get the data back. Because, of course, he said, A, they didn't get the data, and then B, he said, it's encrypted and unusable, which both of those contentions proved to be untrue. Catastrophically so if you're a undercover police officer and your identity is now out there on the dark web, including your home address. Catastrophically so if you are a witness in a case over the past 10, 15 years where you gave information to police that helped put a bad guy away, and that bad guy is now out of jail, or that bad guy has friends on the outside, and your information, including the details you gave to the Columbus police and the reports that are also online out there, that would be a bad thing. Not to mention your financial peril with your social security number, driver's license number, all those things out there on the dark web. Mayor Ginther would not spend the $1.6 million to get that back. But according to techno wizard Sam Orth, the guy on whose watch this cyber theft occurred, he says Mayor Ginther has used his emergency powers as mayor to approve $4 million. Isn't that twice as much as what they could have paid? Yeah. $4 million in technology spending related to recovering the breach. $3 million of that $4 million was spent on operations and $1 million on capital purchases. So rest easy, Columbus. Andrew Ginther is on the case. He's all over it. What about violence in the city overnight, Bruce? Last night, just before 8:30 p.m., a homeless man was shot in the campus area. I do not know this street in the campus area. John Herrick Bridge at Olentangy River Road and John Herrick Drive. Is that right there by the vet school, or what used to be the vet school? I can never know. Every time I go on campus now, there's a new building, and buildings that were there before are gone. But it certainly seems like it's in that area because it's bordered by John Herrick Drive, Olentangy River Road, West 12th, and Cannon Drive. Cannon Drive is where the stadium is, or it used to be. Now it's Woodruff, Woody Hayes Drive, Cannon Drive. They all kind of coalesce right there. So the guy who shot the homeless man, and I refuse to use the term unhoused, homeless man, is apparently a guy who was already wanted. His name is Richard Patridge. He was wanted on unrelated charges for kidnapping his former girlfriend and for pistol whipping her boyfriend. Sounds like the kind of crimes that should get you, locked up. But hey, it's Columbus, so of course he was out. We also had a person shot and killed last night. 4200 block of Cleveland Avenue in the Northern Lights neighborhood. Well, not last night. It was yesterday afternoon, 2:45. Police received a call. They show up. 2 suspects. As yet, not in custody. So, more of the same. Dysfunction in city government. Ceccarino on the Andrew Ginther spending twice as much to solve a problem he could have solved by giving the hackers what they wanted. And I know you don't want to negotiate with terrorists, and I know you don't want to reward that behavior, but first and foremost, what's your responsibility? Protect the citizenry. I say that all the time. The first and foremost responsibility of every elected official is to protect the citizenry. Protect their physical safety, sure. Protect their identity, their economic standing, all those things. I mean, when you allow data to be hacked and circulated on the dark web, you can say, well, there's nobody's physical safety is in danger. Tell that to the undercover cops whose home address is out there now. When they go to work and their wife and kids are still at home, you think they're sleeping well at night? Of course not. So this was bad stewardship of the safety of the data, bad decisions in the aftermath of the stealing of the data.
Especially when it comes to
all right, ladies and gentlemen.
That is MetaShare.
That'll do it for a Tuesday edition. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it very much. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
The member satisfaction rate for MetaShare is double